The one constant through all the years, Ray, has been baseball.
It hasn't happened at Fenway Park for 95 years. The Red Sox are world champions.
All right, Red Sox fans, welcome in here. You're, of course, listening to Red Sox Beat on CLNS Radio. I am Jared Scally, as always. And don't forget, engage with your favorite sports podcast on CLNS Radio. We have partnered with Reached to develop a brand new way to talk about your favorite sports teams with all of your friends. Go to reachedapp.com/CLNS and download the app for iOS or Google Play today and choose your favorite group and invite all of your friends to join you. So again, just go to reachedapp.com/CLNS and sign up. It's simple, it's easy, it's fun to use, it's interactive. Jess and I every week get questions going up there. Sorry for the lack of questions this week. Jess has not been around and I've been kind of busy. Jess is not with me today. It's a solo show today, so it's just me. I will be joined by Ben Shapiro of MassLive.com in just 1 second. Before we bring him on, though, again, I just want to remind you that Jess is not here this week, but you can find us on Twitter at Red Sox Beat, on Facebook at Red Sox Beat. We also just made a Tumblr page, so you can now find us on Tumblr. Yes, Tumblr, the good old blogging website, Tumblr. If you search Red Sox Beat, you'll find us there. We actually made an email address this week as well. So if you're an email user, heavy email user, you can email us questions at redsoxbeatclns@gmail.com. Almost forgot what it was. Had to remember there. But of course, you can hit us there as well. You can hit me and Jess on Twitter as well. So without further ado, I am now joined by Ben Shapiro, or at Red Sox Monster of MassLive.com. Talks all things Red Sox, of course. Ben, how you doing today?
Doing well. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Doing good as of late. The Red Sox playing a little better. Still 5.5 games back in the division, though, unfortunately, because the rest of the division decided to win this week, too. So who knows what's going on with that. But first, I always want to ask you, last week they went 5-2. Again, like I said, they didn't make too much ground up, but do we consider this a win in the last week, or are we still worried considering the rest of the season and the way it's gone?
Oh, absolutely. Look, I mean, the winning record on the week, you got a number of good starts out of, first of all, the second start by Eduardo Rodriguez had to be the most encouraging thing, right? Because you've got a young pitcher. It's the first start out of the way. It was very impressive. After that first start, the Twins were pouring over video, trying to get information, saying, look, it's a young guy, he's going to go out, maybe he'll make some mistakes. The Twins were playing very good baseball, and the Red Sox were able to put together a few wins against the Twins. And even though the loss in the second game of the doubleheader was frustrating, we still have to like the fact that they were able to win the game Rodriguez started, and that he started and pitched very well, really. A home run to Brian Dozier being his only real mistake that day. So I think that there's no way around taking a positive off the week. This 5.5 games out of first place is not bad. In fact, if you told a lot of people the Red Sox to be under 500 in early June, most would probably assume they were a lot further than 5.5 out.
What you mentioned Rodriguez, and I'm going to ask you about him now because you brought him up. What have you thought about him so far? Obviously, he's been great. Do you think he's going to be able to sustain this? Because if so, that means the Orioles really gave us a steal.
Well, he's not going to be able to maintain his. I don't think he's going to give up one run every 2 starts. That's a pretty high standard, and he's set the bar pretty high for himself. But he does have the looks of a guy that can definitely be a consistently effective major league starter. People talk about the deceptive delivery. He's got some good velocity, a good changeup. He's a good young pitcher, and yes, I do think that in spite of all, Ben Cherington has made plenty of moves that people could question, but I believe that Andrew Miller for Eduardo Rodriguez trade will go down as one of his better ones. And even if Rodriguez goes through a period of downtime and ends up as, let's say, a number 3 or number 4 starter, a solid but not spectacular big league starter. All the Red Sox gave up was 2 months of Andrew Miller in a season when his contributions were really no longer needed given their place in the standings. So you're talking about getting something for next to nothing.
Do you like the Stephen Wright move to the bullpen? Because obviously someone had to get off this rotation eventually, considering the way Erod was pitching. Do you like Stephen Wright going into that long reliever role?
Well, I think he certainly made a good case for himself yesterday. Anytime you put a knuckleball pitcher in the bullpen, you have the advantage of, knuckleball pitchers tend to be pretty durable. So if the Red Sox do get back-to-back bad starts out of someone, Wright's the kind of guy they could use for 2 innings in one game and maybe 2 innings the next game as well, or 2 or 3 innings even. That's obviously a plus, but the real issue is going to be whether or not he performs in that role, because just because it makes sense to put him in that role doesn't mean that he performs in it. But yesterday was very encouraging.
Yesterday, you said obviously Wright pitched well, but the whole team was kind of meh until that 8th inning where they decided to wake up and have a little life in them. Can we as Red Sox fans look forward to this team kind of using that as a spark moving forward, or is this going to turn into what that Angels series was a couple weeks ago, where they took those 2 games we all looked going into last week or 2 weeks ago as a spark plug for that, and then they won like 1 game the entire week the following week? So which way is this team going to go going back to Baltimore now?
It does look like a few things are clicking for them. In April, the pitching was abysmal, but the offense was pretty good. In May, the pitching actually improved dramatically, but the offense disappeared. And so here we are in June, and now you're seeing the pitching still looks pretty solid. It's certainly not, the best staff in baseball, but it's no longer laughably bad the way it was for periods of time in April. And all of a sudden, the offense is coming around, right? You've got Bogart swinging the bat pretty well. Pedroia has been fantastic, and having him at the top of the order has added value to his already good play. Ortiz is still struggling, but he has looked better since taking those few days off. Hanley Ramirez has refound his power stroke. Napoli is still struggling. Sandoval has certainly had his ups and downs, but you do have some offensive bright spots in that lineup. Look, this is going to be a big test coming up because, you can talk about how the Orioles are the only team worse than the Red Sox in the AL East all you'd like, but the Red Sox are 12-17 on the road this year. So it doesn't really matter who they're playing on the road. They've struggled. They're going on the road to play a Baltimore team that they really should be able to beat if you look at the trajectory of the two teams. But can they do it on the road? And that's going to be a big test. And if the Red Sox can take, say, 2 out of 3 in Baltimore, then I do think there's reason to think that this team has sort of turned the corner.
Man, do I hope you're right, because I do not want another lost summer. It's only June, and I'm already getting sick of watching this sometimes. So I can only imagine what it's going to be like if they keep losing. But you brought up Xander and how he's doing well, along with Pedroia, obviously. And I love Pedroia at the leadoff hole, by the way. I want to throw that out there, too. I love Pedroia hitting leadoff. He's working well, because clearly Mookie Betts wasn't working well there. But Xander Bogaerts has been hitting extremely well. His defense has obviously gotten a lot better this year. But why, and this is a huge pet peeve I've had, I've mentioned it the last couple of weeks on this show, Ben, of why in the world is Xander Bogaerts not consistently batting above at least 5 in this lineup? Whenever he seems to get a couple hits, they put him back to 6 or 7. Why is he not batting 2, if not like 5?
Well, first of all, I think it is valuable to have a bat at the end of your lineup that isn't an automatic out.
But he's not hitting out for Napoli.
There's nothing wrong with having a guy hit late in the lineup who presents pitchers with a little bit of an obstacle. On top of that, look, with younger players, and the Red Sox and Xander Bogaerts especially, both experienced this last year, sometimes you want to just give them consistency, right? Do we really need to, as soon as Bogaerts starts swinging hot bat, does that mean we just automatically move him up in the batting order and tinker with the success? Look, it feels like he's been around for a while, and he has, but we're still talking about a 22-year-old guy, and most of the time, with most major league players, you're talking about a minimum of 500 to 1,000 at-bats at the big league level before they start to hit their stride. And Bogaerts right now has had, I believe, I'm looking at it, 771 at-bats in the majors. He may be finally starting to hit his stride and become the hitter that a lot of people figured he would be when he was posting outrageously good minor league numbers and gracing, top 10 prospect lists from Baseball Prospectus and MLB.com and Baseball America and all the big names. So why tinker with that now? You still got a guy, you're kind of waiting to see the power come around, I think. And I do think that will come around. because as he gets more comfortable making contact, eventually the contact, I believe, will become more solid, and he'll start to drive the ball better, and you'll see more hits like you saw yesterday. That double, of course, would have been a home run in a lot of baseball parks. People talk about the advantage of the Green Monster. In that situation, that ball may have been out of some ballparks, but, in Fenway, it was just a double off the wall. He is being to drive the ball a little bit. And look, I think if he gets, at his best, he will be a guy that hits 300 and hits 20 to 25 home runs. And then the RBIs and runs will be dictated by where he hits in the batting order. And he will start to move up that batting order. But for now, you've got him hitting well. You've got him in a comfort zone. I don't see any reason to tinker with it.
What would be the reason then? Are you okay with John Farrell throwing Pablo Sandoval the way he's been terrible at the plate, and that's why he had those last couple games off, just to get his head clear, apparently. I don't even know. But he went right back in his normal sixth spot. Napoli's been hitting fifth. As terribly as he's hitting, I don't think his average is above 220 at the moment. I don't know exactly what it is. But those two haven't been hitting that well, and that's why I plead the argument of at least let Xander hit behind Hanley.
Well, they're not; those guys are not young players, though. You're not worried so much about tinkering with them as you are worried about them just finding the stroke that they've both had before, right? They've had sustained periods of major league success. So they ultimately know that the game is a game of, there are ebbs and flows to the game. Most players, the majority of Major League Baseball players, go through protracted slumps. Only the very, very best Major League players don't go through a few months in their career where they're just abysmal. And so those guys are obviously elite, but neither Napoli or Sandoval are of that ilk. And I believe that the Red Sox, at this point, feel like Napoli and Sandoval, they do both have hot streaks coming, and they're just trying to ride it out until they get to that point.
Do you believe Nap's going to get better? Do you believe he can get out of this? Because it's been a while now since he's really hit. I mean, obviously since last year, but his numbers have been pretty low all year.
Yeah, they have. Look, he's not that old, but he has had injuries, and I believe that, a year without good sleep probably has it probably does have a pretty significant effect on anyone's quality of life and quality of work. So I believe that he does have some good days in front of him. You're not talking about a guy that's 39, 40 years old or something like that. He's 33, and so I just think that he's going to have to get back in a zone, and he will get back in that zone. And the thing about Napoli is once he's back in that zone, everyone's going to love the guy because he hits moonshots when he's swinging the bat well. So I believe the Red Sox will, to this point, they'll continue to wait it out, and especially if the team starts to win, then they're going to definitely wait it out because, if he's not costing them games all the time, then I think they've got a little bit more leeway.
All right, so clearly Napoli is on your radar to stay and just kind of work it out. What do you think the Red Sox plan is with Hanley Ramirez? I know Pablo Sandoval hasn't really done much, but defensively he's kind of sucked, and that's kind of why he got those 2 days off. But it seems like Hanley has the vote of this team playing in left field. One, because he's finding his bat again, which is the reason why he's been out there, and the reason why they paid him so much to come back to Boston. But can he really stay in left field the rest of this year, especially if this team starts to get a little inching closer to contending? Because he's god-awful to watch out there.
The rest of the year, I think he's going to be the left fielder for a bunch of it. But going forward, I'm not so sure about that. Look, you can't just snap your fingers and create another deal similar to what Cherington did in 2012. If they decide that Sandoval, for instance, is just not the right fit in Boston, they're not going to be able to just, dial up a GM and say, hey, you want to take this 5-year contract worth just about $100 million off our hands on this guy that just is not performing that well for us? You're not going to get a ton of takers unless you're willing to do something similar to what the Dodgers did with Matt Kemp or what the Rangers did with Josh Hamilton, and that is just eat a very large portion of the contract. So I believe that they're going to have to figure out what to do with these guys and hope they come around for this season. Now, going forward, look, I think Napoli could be moved, and I think if the right offer came along in the middle of this season, Napoli could be moved then, especially if he does start to swing the hot bat. That would make him a more tradable commodity. And then maybe you move Hanley to first base, or you move Sandoval to first base, but then you're still left with Ramirez at third, which I don't think is a great option. So I believe that ultimately Sandoval's place is probably as David Ortiz's replacement, but that's not going to happen this year, and I'm not sure it's going to happen next year either. So in the meantime, the Red Sox are going to have to sort of fit the proverbial square peg in a round hole in the field with him.
Do you think the Red Sox plan on Hanley playing first base next year? Because I know a lot of people said maybe he'll be the DH and that's what his future might hold, but who knows what, like you said, Pablo Sandoval could potentially be a DH too, because you know how many years he has left at third base. The way Napoli's been playing, and obviously his contract's up, if you can get something for him and make it worth it, you could move Hanley to first base. I think he could handle playing first base. Anyone could handle playing first base. It's not that difficult.
It's not quite as easy as everyone seems to think it is.
But it's not left field for Hanley Ramirez.
It's not left field, and I do think that, if he's going to play the field, I believe that first base is probably his ultimate destination. I don't really think there's any chance. Look, if the Red Sox feel like they have to move Sandoval off third before he turns 30, then they never should have signed him in the first place. You can make an argument they shouldn't have signed him in the first place. I know I've heard that argument before, but the deal was done, and they made it for a reason. I guarantee you, when that deal was made, there was no way they were thinking, well, this guy's not going to make it to 30 as a third baseman. So he's the third baseman, and if somehow he collapses offensively and in the field, then the Red Sox will have to do something they don't want to do, which is eat a contract or just concede that it was a mistake and try and figure out what to do with him, or just have an expensive bench player. But for now, he is your third baseman, and you may have to navigate some rough patches with him. But he's not a very movable contract right now. So regardless of how you as a fan feel about Sandoval being at third, he's definitely there for the foreseeable future.
All right, we're talking to Ben Shapiro of MassLive.com again here on Red Sox Beat. They also just got Diaza, who's played well the last week that they had him, and he's kind of injected some energy into this lineup. I've heard a lot of talking about potentially why would you go get a left-handed outfielder if you don't want to take Hanley out of the outfield. What do you think the Diaza signing or trading, whatever it was, has anything to do with their future plans with Hanley, or to just get extra bats and get some extra help in here?
I think it was just simply added depth. You have Nava headed into the DL. I do not think that they feel like, adding Alan Craig back to the 40-man roster is not an option. Bradley has proven that, he's got a gold glove and a wooden bat. not the wooden bat that they use in the majors. I'm talking about the bat that just doesn't function. So he's not an option either. So Diaza is simply a depth signing. I wouldn't read too much into it, or a depth acquisition, because it was ultimately a trade, but would not read much more into it than what he's been so far, which is a guy that is going to fill in and he's going to run the bases, provide a decent glove, spell someone maybe late in the game or something like that, but he will not be a permanent fixture, barring, of course, a series of injuries on the Red Sox.
Okay, this could be a bold question, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Did the Red Sox miss on Rusney Castillo, or is it too early?
It's just too early to tell. The one thing that I think you have to be worried about is the durability, the inability to stay healthy. That's the one thing that I think could make it a miss. Is, look, you're never going to know if he was going to be great or not if he's hurt every week or two. So that's the big deal. But I do feel like until he's spent at least a few months playing consistently to major league level, it's going to be very hard to make any sort of realistic assessment of whether or not that signing was a hit or a miss.
I agree. Right now, he's at 9th, so, what are you going to do at this point? You kind of have to ride out. He got the home run the other night to lead the charge in that comeback in the 8th inning, so that's kind of a good sign for him there. All right, Ben, one more question for you before I let you get out of here and get you off the hot seat here. Week ahead in the division, got to go to Baltimore, come back and play Toronto, I believe it is. How do you see this week going for the Red Sox? Are they going to use this momentum from the sweep of the A's and this huge rally in the 8th inning last night, or are they going to fall flat in their face again?
Well, I have faith in them actually going to Baltimore. I think that they're going to play well down there. I think, first of all, the A's have been a nemesis for this team for the last 4 or 5 years, or the Orioles have been a nemesis for them. But I do believe the Red Sox are due to play some good baseball against Baltimore, and Baltimore has not been playing great themselves. That Toronto series is going to be tricky, though, because I know the Red Sox have been pitching well, but that lineup is stacked, and I know Edwin Encarnacion is sitting out right now, but he killed the Red Sox every time they face him. Jose Bautista is healthy and swinging a hot bat. Jose Reyes is back from an injury. I think he had like 5 stolen bases in 3 games last week. This is a team that's really hard to keep off the scoreboard. And so unless the Red Sox can really continue to crush the baseball the way that they were late yesterday, I think they're going to have a tough time with Toronto. I'm not saying they're going to have a terrible week, but it's going to be tough for them to win out or I think really dominate Toronto, because I just think Toronto's going to put up some runs.
Yeah, Toronto has the bats they always have. It's just the pitching that's always kind of hurt them, and it still is. But again, this is Ben Shapiro of MassLive.com. You can find him on Twitter at Red Sox Monster. It's a good follow. He knows his Red Sox stuff, so definitely go on and check him out. Ben, we appreciate the time as always. Again, more than welcome to join us whenever you want, and obviously tweet at us and all that stuff during games. And definitely stay in touch.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on, and have a great week.
All right. Thank you, Ben. All right. Again, that was Ben Shapiro of MassLive.com. I want to thank Ben. Appreciate his time for coming on. Ben was brought to you by Audible Read. CLNS Radio, the CLNS Beat podcast series, and Audible are giving you a free audiobook from the world's biggest online library. Simply go to audiblepodcast.com/Celtics and get your free Audible book today. All right. Again, thanks to Ben. Again, Jess is not here today, so it's just going to be me rambling on. Hope you enjoy my voice, because you're going to hear for the next 25, 30 minutes, depending on how long I can ramble here. But we're going to keep the trend going here without Jess, and we're going to get a little MLB headlines going on, get you caught up. What's going on around Major League Baseball first? A woman was struck in the face by a broken bat at Fenway Park Friday. She is in critical condition, but is expected to be okay. Took a line drive bat to the face. Really bad bleeding, but she's expected to be okay after what was a gruesome situation over there at Fenway Park. Next, the Astros have called up top prospect shortstop Carlos Carrera. He is expected to start immediately as of Monday. This kid's supposed to be great. I'll talk about it more in a second. And finally, the Houston Astros, the Astros trend, have announced the last week that they will remove the famous Tal's Hill next season and move in the fences to remove the flagpole that is in center field that is in play. Big hazard there. So those are your MLB headlines, and they are brought to you by lynda.com. Lynda.com, over 4,500 different courses, taught by a bunch of different experts. So go on there and check it out and get your free 10-day trial just by going to www.lynda.com/CLNS, and we'll give you 10 days just to try it. If you don't like it, you can stop using it. It's a great service. Jess and I use it all the time. It's great. So go on and check it out. All right. Let me react a little bit to these here, because some of these are gruesome, some of these are different, some of those are exciting. So we're going to get to them a little bit here. First of all, if you're a Red Sox fan, you knew what happened Friday night. A lady was hit in the head with a line drive broken bat. No fences at the part where she was sitting, and they had to stop the game because she was bleeding so bad. They had to get her out of the game. They had to take her on a stretcher, so they took her out over the field. Man, was it bad. It was gruesome to watch. If you've seen pictures online, it's pretty disturbing to see. And I don't know. I just think that maybe I've talked about this with some friends. And like, if you're going to put some protection up, maybe, but maybe not. It might be time for a new ballpark. But besides the discomfort of the blue seats and the grandstands and all this stuff, it might be time for a new updated ballpark, a little more security, a little more safety. And you're not going to tear down Fenway because it's a historical landmark. So maybe it's time to get a nice new ballpark there in the water. If you don't get the Olympics, you can put some of the money towards that if you're Fenway Group. And you kind of make it happen. I think this ballpark's getting a little outdated. I know all you Red Sox fans hate hearing me say it, but maybe it's time to move on from being every day at Fenway. If you miss it at all, you can still get tours. But this incident obviously is worse than most case scenarios, but I still feel that you need something there, and it might be time to move on from Fenway Park. That can be a discussion for another day if it really happens to become an issue. But I don't think it'll happen within this ownership group anyway, because I just don't think John Henry wants to be responsible for being the ownership group that moves this team out of Fenway, because, man, they have had some heat on them between the Liverpool purchase and just backing Ben Sherrington and John Farrell and having these losing seasons. I think they've got a lot of heat on them, so I don't think they want to be the ones to move the team out of Fenway Park. All right. Carlos Carrera, this kid, man, Houston prospect. They've been on a skid as of late. The Astros, a 4-game losing streak, I believe it is. This guy's going to be a stud, and he's kind of worked his way up in the last month through AA and AAA. And you're going to hear his name. He's got that type of power. He's a great ranging shortstop defensively. I wouldn't say he's quite Chris Bryant type, but he's going to be up there with him in terms of the next level of players and next prospects to really become stars in this league, I think. I think he's going to show it sooner rather than later. I think the Astros are going to really benefit from him being up there, and hopefully that's what they're hoping for. They're hoping for a spark, so hopefully that KYRIE kid can pan it down and get it going. I think he will, so keep an eye out for him out there in Houston. And again, Houston removing center field Tal's Hill as it's known, out there, and for next season. They're expecting the construction to be done next year. By next summer, you won't be running up the hill anymore there, Mookie Betts and Rusney Castillo. You won't have to worry about it. And the stupid pole that's in the middle of center field, that has been one of my biggest pet peeves since I ever discovered that there was a center field hill and a pole in baseball in a major league ballpark. Between the center field pole there, that's in play, and the catwalks in Tropicana down in Tampa. Those are the two biggest pet peeves I have for ballparks in this league. And having a pole, I'd almost rather them keep the hill if they had to choose one. Obviously, they're getting rid of both. They're moving in the fences, and they're getting rid of the hill. So it'll be shorter fences. They're planning on putting concourses out there for kids to go play and other fans to interact, maybe putting a bar out there, just something other than what it is now and using the extra space. So we're about where the hill starts, that's about where the fences are going to be, because they can't remove the pole itself. They're just going to move the fences in so it's no longer in play. Thank God, though, because, come on, who wants to be playing center field with the fear of, one, a hill to worry about running up if the guy hits it far enough, and two, to run into a pole? What if the guy catches it, runs smack dab up the hill, and goes face first into that pole? I know it's padded, but come on, you can't put a pole in center field. That's not okay, and I've hated that from day one since I knew it was there. It's stupid, and I'm so happy it's not going to be there anymore. I've saw some Houston Astros fans on Twitter who are like all nostalgia about the hill. Come on. Your teammates are going to get hurt. Your team's going to get hurt. The opposing players are going to get hurt. You twist an ankle catching the ball, running up the field. You might not make a play because you're worried about a stupid hill in the middle of a baseball field. No. Come on. Let's be done with that now. So thank God that's happening again. The Astros are removing the hill and the flagpole from in play. I'm assuming they're going to take down the hill completely. The flagpole or whatever it is can't be moved, but they're going to move the fences in, and it'll still be hitter's ball. It'll be more of a hitter's ballpark and all this good stuff. But again, great news coming out of Houston. No more stupid hill and pole in center field in play. That rant's over with. Sorry, had to get that off my chest. I was so happy that was in the news last week, but it came out a couple days after we did the show, so I couldn't really get around to it. But I'm sure Jess will approve it too, and he'll let you know next week when he comes back. But all right, so we had a bit of a week here if you're a Red Sox fan. This is about the time where Jess usually does his lovely recaps. I'm going to do it this week because, I have that ability. It might not be as in-depth as Jess's. I apologize. It might be a little more opinionated. Maybe you like that sort of things. Hit us up on Red Sox, at Red Sox Beat on Twitter, on Facebook, the new email address I made for us here, Red Sox Beat at CLNS at Gmail, on Tumblr now, on Google Plus still. You can hit us almost everywhere now. Don't forget also, we're really asking people to do this for us, is go on iTunes and subscribe. Rate, review, and subscribe. More the merrier. Tell your friends if you've done it already. Please do it. Help us out. It's a huge favor to us. That being said, if you don't like my recap and you want Jess to keep doing it, let us know over social media and over email, or et cetera, et cetera. All right, this past week they went 5-2. I told Jess I would do this, so I'm going to be nice. I'm going to give him some credit here on the show. He predicted correctly the last week's record. He predicted that they would split with the Twins and sweep the A's. I'm pretty sure I verbatim said on this show last week that, Jess, are you nuts? And why in the world would you guess that they're going to sweep the A's the way they've been playing? Well, they did it. And they should sweep the A's, let's be honest. I was being kind of a asshat last week. They should be sweeping the A's. They're a minor league team, basically, with the talent they have on that team, or lack thereof. Probably better word to describe it. But Jess was right. They split against the Twins. They swept the A's. Went 5-2 on the week, capped off by that big 8th inning rally Sunday afternoon there at Fenway, but I'll get to that in a second. First, you started the week off against the Twins. Monday night was postponed due to rain. We had rain here in Boston. It was killer. Thunderstorms. We needed it, though, man. The pollen's been awful around him, sneezing like a mother around here. So that was postponed, so they played a doubleheader on Wednesday. Tuesday, though, they played. They won 1-0 behind a great start. Man, they got some pitching in that game, and man, did they need it. Big time. They won 1-0 to start the homestand off right, and which is big because, this team really needed some help here. They really didn't know their identity. They were coming off a rough week with the playing against the Rangers, and look, they needed some, and they had just gotten swept by the Twins in Minnesota. So I think it was huge for them to see this pan out. and it did, and it worked really well. So good for them, good on them for that win. You had a great start, like I said. I forget who pitched that game. I have it up in front of me. Let me find here for you. Find people who are listening to me talk. Let's see. First game was Buchholz. Man, oh yeah, that's right. It was a great start by Buchholz. Uehara got the save. Pelfrey had a good game though against the Red Sox. I'm not going to deny that they had a great game. Pelfrey pitched well, but Clay Buchholz got that. Just one out better than him. Pelfrey had that one bad pitch, and you kind of went on from there. And you're really sorry. The only raw offense was that Rusney Castillo RBI single, little blooper single to right field there, past the second baseman, and they won 1-0. So we'll take the win there, especially with the way Buchholz had been pitching. Moving on now, you had the doubleheader Wednesday, June 3rd. Eduardo Rodriguez pitching for the second time, and man, did he not disappoint. Again, went 7 innings, 7 2/3. He went to the 8th inning. Don't know why he did. I think he did. Let me look at his line. I don't know why I'm even trying to guess it. I'm just gonna pull it up for you. But man, it was another great start by him. The Red Sox won 6-3. Phil Hughes got the loss on that one. They jumped on Phil Hughes early, getting a run in the first, getting a run in the third, fourth, 2 in the fifth, and 1 in the seventh. Minnesota got 2 in the top of the ninth, but wasn't enough at that point because they were already losing 6-1. Red Sox had 13 hits that game. That was big for them. Rodriguez's pitching line was 7 innings exactly, 2 hits, 1 earned run on only 1 run, and gave up that homer. And that was all it was. He only gave up that homer to Dozier, that one bad pitch, and that stats line for him basically identical to what he had in his first start. So he's setting the bar high, like Ben Shapiro said earlier when we talked to him. He's setting the bar high, not really going to keep it consistent probably. Hard to say he would be able to do that, but look for him to be consistent in this bullpen. I mean, not in the bullpen, in the rotation, and you got to think that he's going to move forward. Next game of that night, you thought, okay, you got 2 games under your belt. If you can get the third here with Rick Porcello, who's been consistently okay for you, get a little thing going here. Not so much. You lost 2-0 offense, couldn't put anything up. Next day on Thursday, you lost 8-4 with Uehara getting the loss. Just tough. But you kind of a collapse on that one. That game was rough. You were winning. You had the game at hand, and that was a typical Red Sox moment. You were up. Going into the top of the ninth, you were tied. You ended up losing 8-4. Going into the 6th inning, though, you had a pretty comfortable lead. You were up 4-3. You got a bunch of runs in the first 4 innings. You got 2 in the second, 1 in the third, 1 in the fourth. You end up going in to the 9th, and Koji gives up the game-winning. It's 4. Hold on, I'm lost. I'm losing my track here. You were up 4-0 going into the 5th, like I said, and then it was all downhill. Koji ended up giving the game-winning run away. This collapse, man, though, that was the end of it for me. I saw that happen, and look, that was me saying, window's shut. I think the window still is shut. I don't think they're going to have a chance to make the playoffs, let alone win the division. This team's having a rough time, and that I know last week might be a little spark, especially what I'm going to talk about in a second with the Angels, the Athletics series, but it's a struggle. It's a big struggle, so I think that, I don't know, that collapse just kind of hurt. It hurt big time. And you're going into Friday, June 5th now, playing the A's, start a 3-game series. Jeff said they'd sweep. They ended up sweeping. 4-2 win against the A's. Wade Miley gets the win. You go against Scott Kazmir, gets the loss. You avoided Sonny Gray in this series, which was huge. Koji got his 12th save of the year. Friday got his 13th save of the year. On Saturday, winning both identical by 4-2 scores. Kelly had a decent outing on Saturday, which earned him the right to stay in the rotation, which moved Stephen Wright to the bullpen, which I'm going to get to probably in a minute here. But I like the move. Stephen Wright belongs in the bullpen, I think, with this rotation, and Eduardo Rodriguez in the mix, which he should be. Joe Kelly's more of a starter than Stephen Wright is, I think. Like Ben Shapiro mentioned earlier when we talked to him. It's nice to put a knuckleball out there. You get a couple innings here and a couple innings there if you get a couple bad starts from your rotation, which you're going to get. Guys, listen up. It's happening. This rotation isn't going to consistently pitch well. You've seen it all year. So it's a good thing to have someone like that who's proven himself as a starter but can also pitch well coming out of the bullpen and have a little inconsistency with his pitches in terms of, and for a good reason, though. Like, the batter's not going to be able to figure him out right away. And if he goes one time through the rotation in a couple innings, they won't be able to figure it out in time, and by the time they do, he won't be in anymore, and you'll be at your late inning guys, Tommy Lane, Koji, all those guys, Tazawa. So you'll be into those guys. So I think it's a good move. And then Sunday, Yesterday, June 7th, whew, man, was it rough game to watch for most of it. It was boring. It was meh. It was gross. It was kind of a sluggish along. Red Sox fans left early. Fenway Park, you feel bad for that one after you realize what you did. But I think the problem is they just didn't seem interested. And then all of a sudden, you go into the 8th inning, and you make that comeback. You score 7 runs. You're down 4-0 going into that 8th inning, led off by a Rusney Castillo homer, which got the spark plugs going. Then you eventually lead to a Xander Bogaerts double off the Green Monster. That's the turning point for Xander. He's been hitting so well, and like I mentioned to Ben, I'd rather him hit higher, but the spark that you saw that kid have when he got to second, usually that kid's pretty mundane and boring, and I'm going to talk more about that in a minute, but that was a huge coming out hit for him. You're able to get right the win in the long relief situation, but I think the big thing was Xander Bogaerts, go-ahead 2-run double, 8 hits in the comeback. Pat Vendette, the ambidextrous pitcher, came in to get the last out, which I do want to talk about that too in a second because that was cool to watch this weekend. I haven't seen that often, but you got Pat Vendette this weekend who pitches from both sides. He has a multi-use glove, 2 thumb holes, all that good stuff. So so the Red Sox ended the week 5-3. Good stats there. My MVP for the week, who did I write down here? Of course, it was Dustin Pedroia, by far. Guy's raking right now, hitting in the leadoff spot. 483 last week. Home run, 2 ribbies, 19 total bases, and 7 runs. And the key stat there, folks, and the reason why he's my MVP, one along with the average, but the 7 runs. He has come in 7 times in the last week, and that means he's doing his job as a leadoff hitter. Getting on base, allowing whoever's hitting second at that time to get on as well, and allow your Ortiz's, Hanley's, Pablo's, Naps, Bogarts, whoever's up next, to knock him in. That's what he's there for, to get on base, start a rally going, and everyone else kind of follows suit after that. So him being scored 7 times in the last week is a big thing for me, and it means he's really doing his job, and it's a big thing for this team moving forward. And that's why I don't think he's going to be out of the leadoff hitter. I think Dustin Pedroia is your leadoff hitter for moving on. His average has skyrocketed since then. Mookie Betts has proved he can't do it as of right now. He wasn't even playing the other night, hitting 7th when he is playing. So I think this team has figured it out. They got to keep him up there hitting leadoff, but that's my MVP, and that's your Red Sox recap for the week. Again, great week. Jess proved it right. I give you credit, Jess. You're welcome. 5-2 in the week. Hopefully they can move it forward here. I'll preview the week in just a little bit at the end of towards the end of the show. But let's move on here. I do want to talk about what do I want to talk about? I want to talk about Xander Bogaerts. That's what I want to talk about. And the fact that this kid is just he is raking. He's coming into his own. I'm not going to say he's in his prime yet. I won't go that far, everyone. So calm your horses there. But I think this kid is showing why they hung on to him, and they really didn't want to trade him when Cole Hamels situations came up. Reason why they were willing to get rid of Jose Iglesias last year when they traded for Jake Peavy for their end of the deal. When they helped Jake Peavy come in here for a World Series run in 2013. I don't know. I just think this kid is coming around. Look, he's killing it right now. He's coming in his own. He had that two base hit that came in with the 2 RBIs to give the Red Sox the lead in the comeback against the A's on Sunday. And this kid's coming into his own. And I think the biggest thing for me is this kid is always so mundane and just kind of like meh. He's like kind of like a neutral face to himself in terms of he doesn't really get too emotional, whether he does something good or bad. But there's a picture floating around the internet, and it's on a lot of places. I'm looking at a Herald article right now in the Boston Herald. And it's just a picture of him, Hanley, screaming with his hands up after hitting that double. He was looking at his teammates in the Red Sox dugout and getting his team jacked. He's the type of guy, it's not like Mike Napoli gets all jacked. David Ortiz gets his team jacked when he gets big hits. People like that, you always see Jake Peavy swearing at himself on the mound, trying to get himself and his team going. Xander Bogaerts needs to be that guy because that's what the expectations are for him, and I think he's finally meeting those expectations. He was jacked after hitting that double, and in most ballparks, like Ben said earlier, that would probably go out, but still took a double off the wall, knowing it was going off the wall, easily got to second, which allowed him to score again later in the next at bat. But and that helped the base runners. They knew that was going off the wall. Easily 2 runs scored on that one. He was fired up. He's got a little emotional. This club's getting some fire, and I think it's going to be led by Bogaerts. He's had some expectations here to be the guy and to play like the Jimmy Rollinses, the Escobars, the Royals, all these guys. I think he's finally coming into it. David Ortiz came out and said, I'm not surprised by the way he's playing, and I know he's going to get even better. He hasn't even walked into his prime, and it's true. Poppy's right. Speaking of Poppy, side note, he's in a great Dunkin' Donuts commercial series with Gronk right now, the Patriots. Came out today. They're releasing him all summer. He tweeted out the link to it. It's a great little spoof music video. It's absolutely hilarious. You should go check it out. I couldn't stop laughing at work earlier. But back to Xander Bogaerts, man. He is killing it in every which way, and I think that moving forward, he's going to be the catalyst. And moving forward, I want him to be moved up. And this is where I disagree with Ben and what he said earlier when we talked to him. He said it's okay with players to be moved down in the lineup and not have the young kids putting up in the top of the lineup. But when you're having them hit below Pablo Sandoval and Mike Napoli, who can't get out of their own damn way, it is okay to put them up there and let them hit and let the kid hit. He's been in big pressure situations in the 2013 World Series, and he came through. And that's when we saw, oh, this kid's going to be good. Last year he struggled, but he wasn't completely healthy the whole year. Then he got screwed up with that whole Steven Drew situation coming in. Defensively, that kid is so much better already as well. But that's a whole other argument. Offensively, this kid is raking, and I'd rather have him be behind Hanley and supporting Hanley and being Hanley's insurance in the lineup than flipping Mike Napoli, who's hitting 2-something, Pablo Sandoval, who can't get out of his own head. And then who else is going to be behind him? You have Mookie Betts, you have Sandy Leone, or whoever, Swihart. No, Xander Bogaerts should be hitting 5th, if not 2nd. I think if Brock Holt's not in the lineup, Xander Bogaerts should be your 2-hitter. And Mookie Betts should be down hitting 6th if you're not going to let someone else hit 5th. Ideally, Xander Bogaerts should be hitting 5th. But man, dude, I would love for him to get more at-bats. The more at-bats he gets, the more he's flourishing. He went for that streak 0 for 12 before he started hitting well again in the last couple weeks here. He wasn't hitting high enough in the order then. And now he's going to, and he started putting him higher in the lineup. This kid needs to play more. Not play more. He's playing every day. He needs to hit more. He needs more at-bats. The more at-bats he gets, the more situations like that you're going to see. Especially where if you let Pedroia lead off, get him on base, Xander Bogaerts right behind him, get him on base, or even let Pedroia score depending on the situation, then you have more situations where you can get up. And then if you have Hanley on hitting 4th and you have Bogaerts hitting 5th, you're able to allow him to get more to RBI situations. If you have him hitting behind Sandoval and Napoli, what if Sandoval or Napoli leads off, whoever's hitting 5th, and he's hitting 7th? Then what? You have a guy who's hot coming up with 2 outs and nobody on? What's that going to do for you? Huh? You listening, John Farrell? What's that going to do for you? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. This is the biggest pet peeve, and I've wanted him to hit higher so much more. And all year he's been hitting better. And it isn't even just since he came out of that 0 and 12 funk. Like I said, he's been hitting well for a while now. He should be rewarded for it. Pablo Sandoval doesn't deserve to come back after 2 games of clearing his head and just go back to hitting 6. He needs to be shown that he's not going to be guaranteed to hit in his normal spot. Hit him 7th. Let him figure it out. Make him prove it. Make him have those. If you're so sure that you're going to get RBI situations there too, let him have those situations. Put Xander Bogaerts on. Have him knock some Hanley and Ortiz in and Napoli, and then have Pablo Sandoval, who hasn't been hitting well, as a bonus that knocks some more runs in. Do it that way. And then if he starts to hit better, then sure, switch it back, whatever. But there's no way you should be punishing Xander and hitting him 7. I do believe it's a punishment. And I think John Farrell's screwing up royally, and I'm all for still firing Farrell. I don't think he's the right manager for this club. I think the spark on this team is going to come from the players, not the manager. And I'm solely set on that. But enough of my Xander Bogaerts right. I'll move on. It's a lot to talk about when I talk about Xander Bogaerts. But before I talk about anything else here, Red Sox Nation, I want to get to the fantasy segment here. Even though Jess isn't here, I'm going to quickly give you a couple names before we move on. My 2 names are one I mentioned in MLB Headlines, Carlos Correa, shortstop of the Houston Astros, 44% owned in all of, I believe it was Yahoo leagues. I got him early, thank God. I would go get him. Go get him now. He just got called up. By the time you might listen to this, he might already be gone in your league. But this kid's going to be able to rake. Don't expect too much right away, first couple games, but first couple weeks you're going to notice a huge difference, and I expect to be able to play him every day at shortstop in your fantasy lineup or utility role even from now on. So definitely go get him. My second guy is going to be Trevor May of the Twins. He is only 4% owned. And the reason why I want him is because he is this year's Phil Hughes, not the crap version of Phil Hughes, the good version, last year's version of Phil Hughes. He gets strikes, he gets batters out when needed, and he's good for innings. He's really good for innings. He's young. He's pitching well this year, and he's pretty much guaranteed to be available. So unless your league is in the 4% of people who actually own him on a team, be that guy. Be the guy who hits on Trevor May. I promise you won't regret it. So definitely go out and check him as well. And playing for a hot Twins team, so you can get some wins out of him as well, because they're still leading the AL Central somehow, led by veteran leadership like Torrey Hunter and Phil Hughes. So definitely consider Trevor May for wins, innings, and definitely strikeouts. So my two, Carlos Correa, big time shortstop, gonna get you hits, going to get you runs, and definitely the batting average will be up there once he starts hitting more. And, of course, the Twins, Trevor May, young guy, 4%. He's going to be available. If he's not available, let me know on social media at Red Sox Beat, and I'll apologize on Twitter in person, even maybe for my personal handle if he really wasn't available. So, those are your two ads from me on this week's fantasy edition here on Red Sox Beat. For CLNS Radio, of course, my name is Jared Scally. Jess Thomas, usually my co-host, not here this week. So if you think you're hearing me a lot and you're going crazy, you're not. I'm the only one talking this week. So hopefully I'm doing okay here on my own. No, scratch that. I know I'm doing well on my own. I can be cocky about it. That being said, let's move on here. Another thing I want to get to is the All-Star voting. Because Red Sox fans, where are you at? I just saw the MLB Relations Twitter just re-released the most up-to-date stats for the All-Star voting, and Red Sox fans, man, you're slacking. You guys are all slacking, myself included. I'm right there in it. But let's see here. Let me pull it up. I had it on my Twitter. Let me go find it. Here we go. Here it is. All right. First baseman, we got All-Star votes. Eric Hosmer leads the way for the Royals. Not a single Red Sox on that list. Second baseman, Jose Altuve of the Astros, of course, leads that list with Omar Infante right behind him. Dustin Pedroia is fourth. With the year that he's having, he belongs up there. Only 726,000 votes. Get on that, Red Sox Nation. Third baseman, Pablo Sandoval is third. Somehow. That one I actually don't get. That one's named. Josh Donaldson is second, and Mike Moustakas is first. The Royals are just smoking away with this, by the way. Royals are leading first baseman, third baseman, shortstop votes, DH votes, outfielders votes, and the catcher's votes. They're going to basically be the Royals starters, except for maybe Altuve at second base. And you never know, because Infante's not that far behind. So third base is Mike Moustakas. Escobar is leading at shortstop. Jose Iglesias is second there for the Tigers, so good for you guys on the Red Sox trade, which I still didn't mind. DH, David Ortiz is fourth, even below A-Rod at third. Come on, guys, get him above A-Rod. Not even 100,000 votes behind A-Rod. Go get him out of there. Catchers, you got Salvador Perez, of course, of the Royals, leading the way by like 2 million votes. He'll get that. No Red Sox on that list, obviously. Only outfielder on the voting for the Red Sox is Hanley Ramirez, and he's the worst one we have. So that one's by name. Royals, Lorenzo Cain, Alex Gordon, Alex Rios, top 3 out of 4 with Mike Trout there at second. So looks like, and Rios hasn't even played. That's what I don't get. Why is Rios there? He hasn't really played. But either way, he's fourth for the All-Star voting, so he'll probably be on the team. Adam Jones, fifth at the Orioles. So Royals are cleaning house there in the American League. But my point of this, mumbling off all these stats for you, is why are they so low? Is it a disinterest from Red Sox fans? Is it a disinterest from everyone? Is it because they're bad, or is it just because Red Sox fans don't care? Is there a problem? Is there an issue with the amount of Red Sox fans that we have in Boston and that who care about this team? Would we be seeing a trend if it was the same exact players, only they were playing well and maybe leading the division or in the hunt? If they weren't 8 or whatever, 5.5 games out of first place, would this team have more votes in the All-Star game? I believe so. I feel like this team isn't popular because they suck and they're not consistent. And that's like most things in the Boston media, to be completely honest, in the Boston market. These teams are expected to win around here, Red Sox included. And if you're not going to win, we're not going to pay attention. Look, the Patriots OTAs were getting more speculation, more headlines, more press time than the Red Sox games because no one wanted to watch the Red Sox games because they haven't done well. Granted, the NFL is a whole other monster and it's 24/7. The Red Sox aren't getting the light of day because they're not playing well and they're inconsistent. And that's probably why they're not getting their All-Star votes. So, and then the ones who are, like Hanley, who's on that list, Sandoval, Pedroia, they're off of name. Pedroia is the only one on that list who actually belongs on those lists as a Red Sox player. So, I'm not going to stay on it too long. I just want to bring it up because I really think it's a problem. And I think that it kind of shows what where Red Sox Nation is at. It's a matter of, I don't think there's many diehards out there as people claim there are, and I'm calling people out right now. I don't think there are diehard fans out there. At least I'm not saying it all. All you diehard fans, don't come after me on social media. I'm saying than people claim they're going to be. There are a lot more Pink Hat fans than people think. There are a lot less diehard fans of this team than people think. And if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably one of the many diehards. But I think that there's some Pink Hat fans out there, more than none, more than less, who just don't care unless the team's doing well, which is fine. I respect that. Most sports are like that. But that's a problem because these players deserve to be in the All-Star game, especially Bogaerts deserves to be at least in the running now. Dustin Pedroia definitely deserves to be top 2. I don't know about in front of Altuve just because of what he's done for the Astros consistently all year. But either way, I think that it's becoming a problem. But I'm not going to stay on that too long. I'm going to move on here. Going to get to previewing of the week. Before I do that, I just want to talk about Verditi. I think that's how you say it. I don't even know. Of the A's. He pitched this weekend. The ambidextrous guy. You know who I'm talking about. You saw him pitch. I was intrigued. Every time I saw his name come up, I just thought, oh, I got to be in front of the TV. I got to be there to watch it. It was awesome. Pat Verditi. Dude can throw, too. He's consistent. It was kind of funny. Nesson threw up a graphic when he was warming up. Took the video of him warming up lefty and righty, and it said pitchers warming up, and it had the same pitcher, left-handed pitcher, right-handed pitcher. I thought it was kind of cute. But the guy can throw. And I hope he has a career because he came in here and got some key outs for the A's. He came in to stop that bleeding in the inning that the Red Sox came back in the 8th against when they did eventually come back. But he got them out of that inning. Guy can pitch. It was a cool situation when the first time we saw him. Came in second batter, I believe it was Friday night when we saw him, and he was coming up against Swihart, and he came up with the glove on his right hand, looking like he was going to pitch lefty, and then he switched it, and he wanted to pitch righty to Swihart, so then Swihart had to run back and get his lefty batter's helmet, and then decide all this stuff. And the rule on that, if you don't know, is basically if the pitcher has to tell the ump what arm they're throwing with distinctively, like hold it out and show him, hey, I'm pitching with my left hand, or hey, I'm pitching with my right hand, before he gets on the rubber. And then the batter can step in. If he's pitching a switch hitter, then the batter makes the decision after that. The pitcher clearly dignifies which arm he's throwing with. And then after one pitch at the at-bat, the pitcher is allowed to switch once which hand he throws with. So, like, say it's a 2-1 count, and you want to switch to his left hand instead of throwing righty, he could do that. And then Swihart's allowed to switch sides if he wants to. And after that, you have to stay. And you can only switch once. But that's the ruling on that. And I thought it was pretty cool to see in person. I didn't want to sit on it too long, but I think it'd be cool to see him make a little bit of a career here with the A's. I don't know. I'm assuming he's pitching with the A's because they have nothing else to lose, because they're terrible, as you saw by them getting swept by the Red Sox this weekend. So I think overall, it's a cool thing to see, and I think you're going to see less and less of it, obviously. But the glove's cool. It's got 2 thumb holes. It's got less webbing, which is kind of a pain for pitchers. But how often does he really need the webbing when he's pitching? So I think in my eyes, it's still a big thing, and I think it's cool to see. But let's move on here before I get out of here. Before I leave you adieu for the week, I want to preview this week a little bit here. We got 3 games at Baltimore, like I was talking about with Ben Shapiro earlier, and 3 home against the Blue Jays. Now, my prediction for this week is they're going to win 2 out of 3 from Baltimore and win 2 out of 3 from the Jays. Yeah, I said it. I'm going Jess's optimism this week. It's rubbing off on me. Jess, if you're listening to this show this week, your optimism is rubbing off. So 2 out of 3 from Baltimore, 2 out of 3 from the Jays means they're going 4-2 this week in their 6 games. They got tonight, Monday night off, which is well-deserved. But, so I have them going 2 out of 3 against Baltimore. Pitchers for this week are going to be Rodriguez, Porcello, and Miley at Baltimore. Then you got Kelly, Buchholz, and Rodriguez going again against the Blue Jays since they got away from the 6-man rotation. I'm okay with Erod being the guy who goes twice because out of everyone in this rotation, between Porcello, Miley, Kelly, and Buchholz, I don't want any of them pitching twice in a week if I don't have to. And Erod's the guy right now who is pitching well, so it works out well that he's going to be the guy who gets 2 starts this week. I expect him to be the MVP of the pitching staff this week because he gets 2 starts. I won't even go based off innings. I'm just going to go based off of he's probably going to give up the fewest runs, and that's with 2 starts because this rotation's been awful. Look for Porcello to bounce back against Baltimore, and they're a struggling Baltimore team as of right now, being in last place behind the Red Sox. So, well, technically they're tied, but percentage points gets them ahead. So realistically, they're like the same. But look for Rick Porcello to have a decent start because he's had more decent starts than none. Got rocked last time out, but look for him to bounce back. Wade Miley's been okay, so look for him to be okay. Joe Kelly earned himself another start, and that's against Toronto, but I don't expect him to pitch well against Toronto because Toronto has a good lineup. So look for that. Buchholz gets another start against Toronto, and then, of course, Erod winds it down. So that's your pitching matchups, at least for the Red Sox. Players to watch for the other teams, I think it's just kind of the obvious ones for the Baltimore. I think it's Baltimore. It's just Adam Jones because the guy's been on a tear. 4th in the All-Star voting for outfielders. Or 5th, I said. Guy can play, always has, always can. Big leading catalyst for that offense there with Chris Davis, if you don't know the nickname by now. For the Blue Jays series, obviously look out for Josh Donaldson playing a great third base right now and hitting well as always. And I'm looking for Russell Martin to have a good series too. And I know he's been struggling as of late. I would know he's on my fantasy team. Ugh. Crap. I'm sticking with him, though, because I think he's struggling as of late. Look for him to break out, especially potentially against the Joe Kelly game, Clay Buchholz game, maybe even against Erod. He's had a good year so far against the Red Sox, so I expect him to bounce back at least end of the week. So if you're having fantasy too, I would just ride him out. He's a good option there as catcher. So definitely look for him there and look for especially Russell Martin to bounce back. But again, that's your preview of this week coming up. Again, I expect the Red Sox to win 2 out of 3 in both, so go 4-2 on the week on their 6 games, and hopefully 4-2 gets you up a couple games closer to first place in the division. Look, there's no way around this that the division is a struggle, and you don't know how long the Yankees are going to stay up there. Right now, they're 5.5 games up on us. I believe they're a game and a half up on Tampa, but the Red Sox it's a long shot for them to win. Look, the Red Sox, according to Red Sox stats, the Red Sox need to win 86 to win the division with 86 games. The Red Sox need to go 60-44 the rest of the way, which is a long shot as itself. And then the Yankees, Rays, O's, and Jays, the rest of the division has to go 53-52. So, and that's according to Red Sox stats again. You can follow them on Twitter at Red Sox stats too. They're good stuff. That ain't happening, folks. So hopefully maybe you get some good baseball to watch. They stay competitive, and maybe make it worth watching through September. But they're not making the playoffs. I'm already shutting the window on this one. It's going bye-bye. The window is shut, and I'm latching it shut, man. I'm latching it shut all the way. They're done. I'll sit here and talk about them. I'll be optimistic. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If they come in and take a crowbar to my window and prop it open again, then God bless them. But I don't think it's going to happen. I think that window is bolted tight and shut with steel rods until next season. So, but again, even the trade deadline is intriguing. It's coming up next month, and they have to make some moves, even if it's not for this year. They got to get some good players in so that next year they don't have to rehaul again during the winter. They need some complement pieces. They need to go out and get pitching at the trade deadline. They need to do a lot, and that's why I don't think that they're going to really work it out and really figure themselves out in enough time. But again, that's it for me this week. Had a good show this week. Again, I want to thank Ben Shapiro of MassLive.com coming on with us to talk Red Sox, of course. You can find him on Twitter at Red Sox Monster. He thinks they can turn it around. He thinks Mike Napoli's okay, going to stay steady. I don't know if I agree with him on that one, and I think Xander Bogart should be hitting higher. He doesn't also agree with that one. But again, I want to thank Ben for coming on to the show. Sports fans, want to engage with your favorite CLNS personalities? Download the Reached app today for both iPhone and Android. Are you a fan of the Celtics, Red Sox, Bruins, or Patriots? Of course you are. Make your voice heard. Join your favorite show, and our host will ask the questions. Maybe your answer will get heard on air. Download the Reached app today at www.reachedapp.com/CLNS. Have any questions about it? Want to learn how it works? Get in contact with myself. Or Jess Thomas, who is in charge of Reached for us on Twitter. Hit the new email up at redsoxbeatclns@gmail.com. We're now on Tumblr, so search for us there. Of course, Google Plus still as well, and on Facebook. Bunch of places. You can find us, of course, right on the website as well. And please don't forget, if you haven't already, go share us on iTunes, go rate, review, and subscribe us on iTunes. Big time. We're looking for some more subscriptions there, so please go check us out. And that's about it. That's all I got for you this week. So until next week, hopefully the Red Sox do well. Enjoy the rest of this off night. Enjoy the week of baseball ahead. Hopefully Erod has some good starts, and Jess will be back next week, programming note as well. Until next week, though, this has been Red Sox Beat on CLNS Radio. See ya.